everyone, good evening. I'm just going to quickly pop Laura on with us. Hey, there we go. She should show up soon. So tonight we are going to be speaking about the do's and don'ts of soulful website design. I've got a few questions to ask Laura, but if anyone does join, then feel free to pop some comments below or questions below. Let's see if I can invite her again. It looks like it's taken a while to connect. Maybe I'll have to start it again. There we go. It's unable to join. Why? Hey, Maria.
Are we on?
There we go. I was like, it's not working. Something.
Yeah, I just had a blank
Hi,
screen for
welcome.
ages. I was like, what's going on? We're all
I
good.
was like, I guess it's by myself tonight. No, it's weird. Sometimes it takes so long to connect. But
Yeah.
yeah, welcome. So I was just saying to anyone that joins, we'd be talking about the do's and don'ts of soulful website design. So yeah, I have a few questions for you, but did you want to start and introduce yourself before we go into those questions?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Laura. I'm based in Brisbane, and I am a soulful website designer, and I focus on helping ethical, conscious creators and small businesses to create a personality-driven website that's strategic and converts while still feeling like home, I guess.
Yeah, I love. I've been following you for a while, and the other day, I it was just like the perfect day. You popped up on your story that you had a webinar that would be expiring soon. So I was like, let me get on it. And as soon as after I watched it, I was like, right, there goes my to-do list out the window. I'm sitting down and I'm focusing on the website. So it was really
Well,
good.
that's
So
what
I
I
have
want.
some questions.
Decisive, immediate action.
Yeah. Well, I needed to. It's taken me months, as you know, um, to get my website going. I'm a big procrastinator, and so it just never.
Yeah,
um,
I feel you.
I just had a question with regards to the homepage of a website design. Um, do you recommend that if you have products and service to have all of them listed, or how do you like display that?
So I mean, it depends on how many you have for starters, but I on a homepage, you do want to have all of those touch points for what is going to be like the ideal action that you want people to take. So figuring out what it is that you want people to do on your website. So the critical action like buy now or book now or like send an inquiry or that sort of thing, depending on whether you're a product or a service-based business, and making sure that that's easy to do no matter where they kind of are on your website. Um, because um, people enter your website from different points. Not everyone's always going to enter your website via the homepage. You know, sometimes we
Mhm.
come via an about page or via the blog or something like that. So um, thinking about how many steps it takes to reach that desired action, and any that you don't need, just remove them. So when you're on the homepage, if you've got there's like just a little blurb about each service. It doesn't have to be like the whole sales page, obviously, but just give them enough information for them to be like, yeah, that's the one I want to read, so they can click through and get the information they need, instead of having to try and find your services page and then figure out what service it is that they want to buy, and then clicking through and then reading all of that information as well. You know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
keeping it as like simple as possible for people to get the information that they need and to take the action that you want them to take.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I've been on a couple of websites where it's just all their products listed and you kind of you go there for a specific reason. And so yeah, it makes sense to just have like, you know, topics so you can select where you want to go for, I mean, to make it easy for your customers.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and like
so,
product-based businesses are a bit more difficult because there's so many more things that you like, so many more actions you want people to take. But
yeah,
um, yeah, so product websites tend to be more dynamic because depending on like your product lines and um, what you're kind of promoting, like seasonal promotions and stuff like that. But just making sure that the what you want your customers to be focused on is like the highest priority on your homepage and other pages as well.
and with, let's say, product-based businesses, is there like a rule of thumb with photos, like the photo size or like the design of the photo?
Not really. As long as it's like clear what the product is. So having it, just like having it in action, like on a model or whatever, if it's clothes, jewelry,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, but also just having it like on a plain background so you can clearly see what it is that you're getting. And I always like, this is a bit more difficult for small businesses, but um, with clothes and stuff like that, having actual videos because it helps to really show how the product moves and how the dress moves or whatever.
Okay.
And those little
And
things just help improve the customer experience.
does that not slow down like the speed of your website or anything?
Yeah, well, you want to make sure that your videos are very short and that the file size is as small as you can get it. So there are like free compressors that you can use online. And I like do this for images as well. So just like look up compress JPEG or compress um, MP4, whatever file it is, and you'll be able to compress the file down to a smaller size. But also, if you're embedding those videos from something like Vimeo or YouTube, it helps increase the load speed because it's not on your hosting it on your website is what slows it down.
Okay. Okay, interesting. I think I might need
Yeah.
to go back to my photos. Re- um,
Yeah.
also, yeah, carry on.
I was gonna say like it's not like a hard and fast rule, but in general, you want your images to like be under 200, like optimal. So
Oh,
just check on that.
yeah, I will do. Um, and so for mobile design, is there any like you must haves for mobile? Like I know everyone designs their website on desktop, but it has to be mobile friendly nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, wherever you're going to be building your website, most places have like inbuilt mobile editors as well. So it's just about checking them on there, checking your mobile design on your browser in the editor, but also taking it off to your phone or onto your like partner's phones if you've got different phones, friends' phones, just to test it across browsers and across operating systems. And yeah, it does not. Because you can still keep mobile design interesting, but you don't want it to be like overwhelming so that there's too many things to look at. And just making sure that things are readable, like font sizes are good, that you've got space between clickable elements so that it's easy to click on things. Um, and that your pop-ups can be exited out of really easily because there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to exit out of a pop-up. Um, and yeah, just making sure everything like scales down and up as you would
Yeah.
expect it to across devices. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I'm like, you talking to me, I'm like, okay, I need to go check on all these things so I can rewatch our. So
Yeah.
after watching your webinar, I found it really interesting about the text alignment. I
Mm,
went back to my website and realized I did everything central. Can you tell
yeah.
everyone why it's important to have a mix of alignment with your text?
Yeah, so left aligned text is easier to read, which is why all like magazines and newspapers and books are all left aligned, and they might be justified, but as long as it's all lined up on the left because we read left to right, at least in the English speaking world we do. And so when it's center aligned, the start of each line starts at a different spot. Um, your eye is constantly trying to catch up and figure out where the start of the line is. So it's not as easy to skim read center aligned text as it is to read left aligned text. So
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean you can't use center aligned text. It's just about using it sparingly and strategically. Um, and making sure that there's like a lot of line height, so a lot of space so that people can have the chance to like skim read and focus on what you want them to read, instead of tiring their eyes out, tiring themselves out, trying to find the start of each line in your paragraph. Um, so yeah, just
Yeah, that makes so much
having a
sense,
mix.
especially when, sorry.
No, you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
especially when you see me on the website, it makes so much sense because when I went back to mine, I was like, oh, all of mine is centered, so I need to like fix a whole lot of things. And then I realized, like, yeah, you do skim through websites to see where you want to like
Mm.
click on or what you want to find. So yeah, that made a lot of sense to me. Um, yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add with the text?
Yeah, I mean, it's just when we're looking at our own website, we do tend to read every single word and every single sentence, but that's not how people read websites. So
Yeah.
even if you have to get someone else to look at it for you and say like, what is your eye drawn to? Like, what sections are you reading? What sections are you just scrolling past? It can help you understand how better to structure your website. Because we will always look really closely at our own websites, but that's not the case for other people.
And that is one of your services. You do offer like an audit of someone's website,
Yeah,
even if it's not like
yeah,
on, because you just specialize in WordPress.
yeah.
So,
Primarily, I work with WordPress. I do work with other platforms as well, but primarily WordPress. But yeah, any wherever you have your website, because I'm not accessing the back end, I'm just giving you like my front facing impressions based on like your marketing strategy and things like that and what your goals are for your website. So I'll give you um, an assessment of your website for those goals, for functionality, for design and things like that. So you can like take it away and make your changes yourself, which is what the
yeah,
webinar was demonstrating.
yeah. I mean, that was really, really good webinar. I know you
Thank you.
messaged me and said that you thought it might have been overwhelming, but like I found it really
Yeah.
useful. I went back to my straight away. Um, so I just want to say if any of you had any questions for Laura, please drop it in the comments below and she'll answer them for us. So one other question I had was, what should what elements should be on every single page of your website? So something like a sign up newsletter form or like an Instagram link, because that's quite popular to have on websites now. What is the element
Yeah.
that you would say definitely have on every page?
Um, I don't know if there's any that you definitely have on every page because it does depend on what the purpose of each page is. So it's particularly, again, for service-based businesses, when you're looking at services like service pages, you want people to
Mm-hmm.
be contacting you, right? So like buy that service. Um, so that is your main call to action on that page. And having too many call to actions on the same page, especially an important one like your services page, is gonna like muddy your message a little bit. So like on your homepage and your about page in particular, that's where you're adding in all of those like newsletter, social media, links to blog posts and things like that, so that you're keeping people on your website and helping them get to know you a lot better. Um, but services pages, I kind of keep it at the contact me or like book now, and then maybe like pushing them to a different service page in case the one that they're on is not the one that they need. So
Okay.
you never want to like completely end the customer journey on any page. So you never want to have a dead page that has no links to anywhere else, but it's just about being strategic and thinking about what is the best page to send them to or the best option to send them to from here.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't actually have too many other questions. How often should you check your website for like errors? I know there's quite a few. Sometimes I go on websites and like the social links don't work, or you click
Mm,
on a page and it takes you to 404 error or something. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I recommend like once a month, which I might maybe seems like a lot, but once you're kind of in the habit, you kind of know what you're looking for and you can kind of knock it over quite quickly. And you know if you're doing it once a month that there's not going to be any like grave, massive errors that you kind of need to address. And yeah, with 404 errors, it's not the end of the world to have 404 errors because it shows that it's a real website, but making sure that your 404 errors are reduced where possible. So making sure you've got redirects in place. And if you can't, then having a custom 404 page that sends people to other pages or gives them the option to find what it is they were looking for. Um, and yeah, just checking for things like broken links really regularly and always checking if you do update your website regularly, checking across devices for that like mobile friendliness um, on big screens and small screens because things can look massively different on big screens versus small screens. So um, yeah,
So basically,
I'd say
like
monthly.
I've been working on a big screen when designing, so I should actually go to like a small monitor and then also check on my phone and check on different devices. And you also mentioned
Yeah,
checking on like, let's say, with Safari and Chrome, like different.
yeah,
Um, okay, yeah. So those are
yeah,
things that
yeah. So because most of
I
us
guess
are
that's
using like yeah, most of us are kind of using like a laptop and then a bigger desktop screen. So making sure like you're checking on the bigger desktop screen and the laptop screen as well. And then, yeah, just different sizes wherever you can. And yeah, across Safari and Chrome and Edge as well, the big three.
yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add? I don't know if you wanted to talk about like um, SEO and like I don't know all of that stuff that you put into your webinar as well. You want to go over that?
I mean, SEO is such a big topic. We could talk for hours
Yeah,
about it. But yeah,
that's
I
where
mean, the
people when you are doing your own website get a little bit confused and just like it's a lot of I guess like back end editing of your website that you need to make sure that you do.
Yeah, I mean, most website builders have those inbuilt SEO tools. So, making sure that you've got a page description. So normally in each page, you can go to settings and type in a page description. And that is usually what Google and like Facebook and Twitter and like LinkedIn will pull in for their page previews. So the little like description of what the page is, and that is SEO. That is an SEO step that you can take because that's where you still want to make it organic, like make it sound like a real person, not a robot, but um, that is where you're putting in your keywords. So in my case, it's like soulful website design for conscious creatives, but in a longer sentence kind of way, making sure those keywords are in there um, so that that's yeah always being pulled across across the platforms.
Okay.
Joe asked what SEO plugin I recommend. I still use Yoast. It's still the most popular. It's still the one I use, but I know that there's a few others that are really coming up in the SEO scene. But Yoast is the one that I still use.
Awesome. I must go check that out. um, yeah, and also with like Google searching and stuff, you need to know how to connect all of that. So it's you got your website's going to be easier found on through Google and
Yeah,
search insights. So yeah. Is
yeah,
there anything else
and
to add?
uh, no, I mean, I cover a lot of this stuff in the website or in the webinar that we've already talked about, which is still available. You can sign up for to receive the recording via my link in bio, and that's just like heaps of actionable DIY tips like these ones. Um, so yeah, I go over a lot of this stuff in there in a little bit more detail as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely go and get that. So go onto Laura's page and download that and watch that when you have time. It really motivated me to do my website, and finally I just got it out there. Oh, sorry about that. Always when
That's
I'm on
okay.
a live, I'll get spark.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the motivation behind the webinar and even the audit service is getting people to take action on their website because I know how easy it is to push it down the priority list and just worry about other things instead. So I'm glad it helped you
Yeah.
to take action on your website.
Yeah, I feel like now more than ever, websites are so important to have with like what we
Mm,
had, the block, whatever the outage that we had from Facebook on Monday, it was last Monday.
yeah, last week.
Just proves how important websites are to have and not
Yeah,
to just rely on social media.
I know, and it's tempting to rely on social media because it is free, but as we saw, we don't own social media, and we can lose it at any time, even just through like a lost website, a lost password, sorry. So
Yeah.
yeah, having your own website and making sure it's up to date is always going to be an important part of the digital marketing strategy. In my opinion.
No, definitely. I agree. That's why I had to just get it done. Anyway, thank you so
I'm
much
glad.
for joining tonight. And for
Thanks for
those of
having
you who
me.
watch, thank you so much for joining us. And if you watch the
Thank
replay,
you.
have any questions, just pop them in the comments. And head over to Laura's page and get that webinar. And yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Awesome.
Have a
Thank
good night.
you. Thank you for having me. See you.
Bye.